Hey, mahal everyone, welcome back again to the Broadway Saiyan YouTube channel. I am your host 40 and we are back with another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, focusing in again on the global version. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Rydia. Is she good or is she not good? Since we know she's the next character coming out. Now in the video description in the pinned comments, I'll be leaving the video for the overview of the upcoming character event if you guys want to know about the upcoming event. But this time we're taking a further, deeper dive into the character itself. So, Rydia, good or not good? So what does Rydia bring to global? So she's a fairly versatile magic damage dealer, and the reason why is because she has one ability that is a single target Brave plus HP, and then she has another ability that is AoE that also increases in damage provided that you have her 35 CP weapon when you're only using it on one target left. And also, she is somewhat of a unique offensive support with her second ability. Again, you do need her 35 CP weapon passive because she gives the party a max Brave Up boost as well as imbuing them with the water element. Her damage output or her damage modifier is actually pretty high with the weapon passive. It's fairly high. And then finally, she's someone who could keep Edge from being a playboy in DFFOO. I know, corny joke, but it's true. We all know it. So, let's see. Rydia versus Garnet. And I chose Garnet because they have some similarities. So, Rydia's Flare 4 versus Garnet's two abilities, Aquamarine Water Glint and Peridot Thunder Flash. So, Rydia's Flare 4's damage output with the passive is actually at 200%, which is pretty high. She also self-buffs herself with a 40% magic attack up for 5 turns, which further increases the amount of damage she deals. Now, if we look at Garnet's Aquamarine Water Glint, it's at 130% with the passive. However, she also inflicts a Water Imperil, meaning that the enemy takes more damage from water-type attacks, and also she self-buffs herself with that Water Dragon for 4 turns, and she also provides a Brave Regen to everybody for 4 turns. And then her second ability has a damage output of 100%. Also inflicts, this time, a Thunder Imperil, gives herself a 30% max Brave Up for 4 turns, and also self-buffs her with that Thunder Emperor unique buff. And then I'm also comparing Summon Leviathan versus Deluge only because they're both AoE water magical brave attacks. So Summon Leviathan is at 120% damage output. It does other things because it's an actual base ability. And then Deluge is at 100%. And we know Deluge is Garnet's brave attack changing to Deluge when we have the Water Dragon self buff. So what's the verdict on this? So raw damage, Rydia outclasses Garnet. But Garnet surpasses her because she's more versatile with 2 elements and the added imperils, and not to mention the Brave Regen is just nice to have overall. Now the second character I want to compare Rydia to is Papalymo. Again, they have similarities as far as the Brave plus HP attack. So again, we know Flare 4 is at 200% and Rydia gets that self buff of a 40% magic attack up for 5 turns. Now if we look at Astral Fire, this is at 140% with his weapon passive. He gives himself that Astral Fire unique buff for 6 turns this time, so it's a longer duration than Rydia's magic attack up, and that unique buff gives him a 30% attack up and 20% max Brave Up, which is great because it increases both stats that are important for damage dealing units. And then his Umbral Ice has a damage output of 90%, so this one gives him a self-buff of Umbral Ice. However, it does remove that Astral Fire, so he switches stances, but it does last again for 6 turns, which is 1 turn longer than Rydia's buff to herself, and this time it grants Papalymo a 20% initial Brave Up, and also gives him Brave Regen. So, verdict again is pure damage, Rydia outclasses Papalymo again. However, just like Garnet, Papalymo is more flexible as far as being offensive. He has 2 different elements, and his self-buffs are just better overall. So what are Rydia's pros and cons? So, her pros are she has good damage output, 200% is pretty good on Flare 4 with the passive, and then her Summon Leviathan is at 120, which is not bad for an AoE. And again, she covers both single target and AoE, making her fairly good. She can act as a unique offensive support, giving the party an increase in max Brave as well as imbuing them with the water element. And then she also makes sure that Edge will behave. So her cons are, so even though we're getting her early in Global, we know Awakening is around the corner. So honestly, she's only going to really be useful in her event. Maybe some cases outside of her event, but with level 60 coming soon, with the first batch of level 60 coming out, you're hardly going to use her. She was hardly used to even when she first came out in JP, and even to this day, she still doesn't have her Awakening in JP, but she'll be getting it soon. And then even upon her release, she's still outclassed by better damage dealing units. So if you want a better magic damage dealer, there's somebody named Kuja that's better than her. And if you want pure raw damage, well, there's Sephiroth, and there's King, and there's Saz that are just overall better than her. Or even Sid is even better than her damage dealing wise. So those are going to be her pros and cons. Some final thoughts and tips if you decide to use Rydia. You definitely want to increase her attack and max brave with those artifact passes because she does specialize in dealing damage. So obviously you're gonna want to increase those statistics. A sample team that I give here is we have Faris for being a debuffer and a dispel, and also Faris has the water element. We have Rydia being that damage dealer, and then we have Garnet being a damage dealer and support. And remember, Garnet does play well with Rydia because of that water imperil, because it allows Rydia to deal more damage with her Summon Leviathan. And then something to look forward to is her awakening again is going to be coming soon with an EX weapon, as we know the trend in JP. So hopefully that'll bring her back to the spotlight, bring her back to shine. She is one of my favorite characters, and I'm excited for her release in Global, but this is going to be Rydia good or not good. So is she good? She's good, but she's not like amazingly great. She is a pass, especially if you've been playing the game for since launch. But if you like her, she's still there if you need somebody that deals magic damage. She's just not the best at it. So that is going to be my final thoughts on Rydia. Alright guys, well this is 40 the Broadway Saiyan. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Once again, take care and mahal everyone.